Big time trigger warning, major details coming out about Kaylee Gonzalez's injuries via the Gonzalez family. Christy and Steve sat down with Nancy Grace to give almost an hour-long interview regarding their treatment up until this point. Now, I try not to inject my personal feelings on this too much, but I am pissed. So let's just recap some of the things that Steve Gonzalez said that Judge Hippler, the presiding judge who was going to be overseeing the trial if there would have been one, what he said to this family behind closed doors. Judge Hippler said, I'm literally quoting, that no matter what Steve Gonzalez does, that he can't bring his daughter back. He also told them that they needed to shut their mouths and stop talking to the media. When Christy Gonzalez, Kaylee's mother, said she didn't agree with that, the judge said, I don't care if you agree with that. Now let's get into some of the injuries that Steve and Christy described Kaylee having. Mind you, they didn't get this information until the night before Brian Kohberger's sentencing. This means that they were not given these details when weighing.
Video footage from the day that Ruby Frankie's 12-year-old son escaped from Jody Hildebrand's house has now been released. I'm going to warn you, though, this is disturbing. This sweet boy was treated absolutely horrible at the hands of his mother and her business partner. The first video is from this scene where he goes to the first neighbor's home. Unfortunately, they weren't home, but it was captured on the doorbell camera. The second video footage is him going to the home of the neighbor who ended up contacting 911. There's also some footage of him in the ambulance and also one of the police officers on a phone call describing how horrific this poor boy's wounds were.
Hi, I was just wondering if you could do 2 favors.
Well, what are they?
Taking me to the nearest police station.
What's going on, son? Have a seat there.
It's personal.
Let's dive into it. Okay, so I want to go over the statement that Jack Takure, which was Kaylee's ex-boyfriend, gave. Now, when I'm going over these statements and I'm pointing out like things that aren't necessarily aligning or things that look weird, it's not me accusing this person of committing the crime, okay? Because again, people are hearing what they want to hear. I am not accusing people of being involved. I'm simply pointing out the inconsistencies and the things that seem like everybody just kind of skated over. So when we look at this statement, which this isn't the first part of the statement, the first part of the statement is very rudimentary. It's kind of everything that we already knew. This part of the statement, we know that both Maddie and Kaylee were making multiple phone calls back to back to back to Jack. Now, number 14, I noted in looking at phone records, but there had been several text messages the night before between blank and Kaylee. The last text message was from Kaylee to Jack at 2:15 a.m. telling him that she had his vape and that he could come pick it up at her house. I advised Jack that there appeared to be a telephone call at 2:26 a.m. between Jack and Kaylee that lasted approximately 17 minutes the night before. Jack said he did not recall the phone call and cannot explain it. Jack said maybe in his sleep.
The friend and student who found both Xana and Ethan dead speaks to People magazine. From this still camera grab from the body cam footage released 2 weeks ago, you can see Hunter Johnson standing in the doorway of 1122 King Road. Once the officer Nunez approaches him, Hunter Johnson leads him upstairs where Nunez discovers both Ethan and Xana. In an interview with People magazine, Hunter Johnson describes what that moment was like for him when Dylan and Bethany called him to come over and check out the house. He stated that he didn't anticipate anything being wrong, but as soon as the three went up the stairs and he saw their bodies, he immediately told them to exit the house. Investigators stated that his calm demeanor and quick thinking to get everyone out of an active crime scene preserved the evidence. It's unimaginable what this kid saw, and to still have that level of composure at 20 some years old, it's pretty remarkable. There still has not been a ruling in Idaho in regards to releasing more of the body cam footage, so we'll have to stay tuned on that. But it is expected to come later this week. Let me know your thoughts.
3 men froze to death in the backyard of their friend's home on January 7th in Kansas City. It's an absolutely bizarre case, but here's everything we know so far. This is the home in Kansas City where everything happened. 38-year-old Ricky Johnson, 36-year-old Clayton McGinney, and 37-year-old David Harrison were all at this home that was being rented by their friend Jordan Willis. The men had all been friends since high school and had come over to watch the Chiefs game, but none of them ended up making it home. Family members of the 3 men had been trying to locate them for a couple days with no luck. On Tuesday, one of the men's fiancés ended up coming to the home and seeing that the men's vehicles were still parked out front. She ended up going to the door, banging several times with no answer. Reportedly, she ended up breaking a window and going inside the home. She was trying to find someone home. No one was answering. So when she went out to the back porch, she ended up finding a body. She contacted police immediately, and when they arrived and banged on the door, Jordan Willis, who was renting this home, finally got up and answered the door. He let them in voluntarily. They searched the premise, and they ended up finding 2 other bodies in the backyard. So all 3 men had been found frozen, apparently in the backyard. That is pretty much all we know about this case right now. The police have come forward saying that it is 100% not a homicide investigation, that there was no foul play in or around the home, and that it's just being investigated as a death investigation. Everyone right now, including police, are anxiously awaiting the autopsy results and the toxicology report, wondering how 3 men in their 30s could freeze to death in the backyard of a home in Kansas City when the temperature was just...
If you feel like you've seen every true crime documentary, you've come to the right place. Here are all the new ones coming out in January. I'll have a full list to screenshot at the end, and I do this every month, so make sure you like and follow to stay up to date. The Murder of Joanna Yates revisits the case of a woman murdered on Christmas Day in 2010. Her case became a media sensation, with the press focused on only one person. The Cult of the Real Housewife is about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City star Mary Cosby and the inner workings of Faith Temple Pentecostal Church, which she runs with her husband/grandpa. You heard me right. The cult behind the killer, the Andrea Yates story, looks at how extremist religious teachings and isolation allegedly influenced a mother before the 2001 drownings of her 5 children. Harlan Coben's final twist brings Coben's signature storytelling to real-life cases, following threads that expose the hidden lives of seemingly ordinary people. We're getting season 2 of The Curious Case of, and they'll continue spotlighting bizarre, headline-making crimes with a new case in each episode. Killer Confessions: Case Files of a Texas Ranger dives into cold and nearly closed cases, where a Texas Ranger named James Holland uses his unique brand of interrogation tactics in cases once considered unsolvable. Vice News presents Epstein Didn't Kill Himself. The title kind of says it all, but it explores how the mysteries surrounding Jeffrey Epstein's life and death sparked widespread distrust, unanswered questions, and a conspiracy that refuses to fade. The Hillside Strangler breaks down the late 1970s killing spree that terrorized Southern California, detailing how 2 relatives murdered young women and hid it in plain sight before they were exposed. Handsome Devil examines the 2019 murders of 2 women in Cape Coral, Florida, where charisma, manipulation, and online obsession complicated the public perception of a killer. Kidnapped Elizabeth Smart revisits a 2002 home abduction that became one of the most watched missing person cases in U.S. history. 33 photos from the ghetto centers on rare images secretly taken during the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, documenting crimes against civilians from a perspective nearly lost. Here's your full list to screenshot for the month. Let me know which one you're most interested to watch in the comments, and make sure you follow so you get these lists every month.
I'm a distant relative of Danielle's Dislicki, and I want to talk about Floyd Galloway Jr., the man charged in Danielle's disappearance. I want to talk about why justice hasn't happened and how long this has actually dragged on. In March 2019, which is more than 2 years after Danielle vanished, Michigan's Attorney General charged Floyd Galloway Jr. with first-degree premeditated murder in her case, which means the state says that there's enough evidence to go to trial, even though her body has never been found. In September of 2019, a judge officially bound the case over for trial, meaning he agreed that there was enough to take it to jury. But where things start to get frustrating is because of legal fights over evidence, the case never actually has reached a full trial at all. Judges rule that, key evidence can't be used because of how it was obtained. This is including surveillance videos, bank records, Danielle's Fitbit, her keys, her phone info, big information, huge chunks of what could show where she was or what happened. They're just saying we can't use them. A judge said that some of the evidence was based on information that came from a private polygraph test that violated attorney-client privilege, meaning it can't be used against him in court. And that has really, really slowed everything down. After years of delays, the court has finally set a new trial date for Floyd, and that is February 2nd of 2026. And there's another pretrial hearing on June 25th of 2026. But remember, please, Danielle disappeared in December of 2016. That means it's been over 9 years, almost 10 years, since she walked out of her office and was never seen again. People keep asking why it's taking so long. They're suppressing evidence. They're ruling that major pieces of evidence cannot be used because of how they got them. There's legal motions that are being pushed to dismiss parts of the case, even arguing that the whole thing should be thrown out. Multiple hearings are happening. There's been so many pre-trial arguments, but there's never been an actual trial. So what needs to happen for justice? The trial needs to actually start, not just hearings, like a real trial where evidence is presented to a jury. Strong admissible evidence needs to be shared legally, like what they can actually use in court without being suppressed. The jury needs to hear the entire story, not just little bits and pieces of it. And most importantly, Danielle deserves a verdict. Whether it's guilty or not, her family needs closure, okay? This isn't about politics or procedures. It's about a woman who disappeared in a family who has waited nearly a fucking decade in a system who still hasn't given a real trial for this case yet. So remember, February 2nd of 2026, that might just be the day that justice starts for Danielle.
All right, y'all, let's talk about this photo of Gypsy Rose Blanchard that has been going around social media. I posted it on my Book of Faces this morning, and there have been a lot of mixed comments. Some people, of course, feel bad for her because there she is. She looks pretty grown, right? She's having to bathe in the sink, and if you look over here, it looks like there's even baby body wash. People are saying she only did that because she was so terrified of Dee Dee. She knew if she didn't obey, there were going to be some serious consequences, like having her food withheld. So she did whatever she needed to do in order to keep her mother happy. But on the opposite end, people are saying her legs obviously worked, right? She was able to climb into that sink. And she wasn't that scared of Dee Dee when she was sneaking around, stealing money, getting a burner phone, taking Dee Dee's laptop and getting on dating sites, and even meeting up with men. And if she was able to climb into a sink like that, then she was able to walk out the front door and tell somebody, anybody, what was really going on. I'm kind of on the fence, to be honest. I'm sure everybody knows how I feel about Gypsy Rose Blanchard. But I do know when you're in an abusive situation, it can be really difficult to get out of. Victims will oftentimes feel guilt for reporting or leaving their abusers. And let's not forget Stockholm Syndrome. Of course, being in a situation like that does not ever warrant taking somebody's life. What do you guys think about this? Do you think she bathed in the sink like a baby because she was terrified of Dee Dee? Or do you think she was just continuing the innocent, sick child princess facade?
Kaylee was never asleep in Maddie's bed the night of the murders, and the evidence proves it. The theory that Kaylee and Maddie were in the same bed when Brian Kohberger came in never made sense to me. Once the trial was over and we actually got the first release of police documents, Dylan's statements had been lost in translation, and this is what they really said. She said she heard Kaylee say in a very frightened voice, "Someone's in here." You would figure if they were both asleep in bed and Brian Kohberger bursts in the room, that's not what you're going to scream. It's undisputed that Kaylee's injuries were far worse than anyone else in the house that night. So this leads me to believe she was always asleep in her bed. Dylan said she first woke up to what she thought was Kaylee playing with her dog. I believe Kaylee heard what was Madison being attacked. She gets up, walks in the hall, realizes there's something going on in Madison's room. She then says, "Someone's in here." That is when Kaylee goes into Madison's room, stumbles upon what Brian Kohberger has just done to Madison, and intervenes.
Go.
Peanuts.
Do it again.
My peanuts.
Do it like it hurts.
It hurts.
This is the heartbreaking account of Dominic Calhoun, a 4-year-old boy from Michigan, whose life was tragically ended in April 2010 due to the critical events he endured at the hands of his mother's boyfriend, Brandon Hayes. It is a tragic story that shows not only the depths of callousness that some human beings are capable of inflicting on a helpless child, but also how everyone in Dominic's life failed to intervene and save him, despite numerous warning signs and opportunities to do so. First of all, I want to remind you that you can support my channel with a sponsorship subscription. Your support will help me create more interesting investigations for you and uncover the complex secrets of criminal cases. I would be very grateful if you would like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss new investigations. Now let's dive into the details of this criminal story. Dominic entered the world on October 17, 2005, in Grand Blanc, Michigan. His parents were Corrine Baker and Eric Calhoun. He had an older brother, Tyler Baker, Corrine's son from a previous relationship. From the moment he arrived, Dominic brought joy and light into the lives of those around him. His bright blue eyes and infectious smile instantly captured hearts. As Dominic grew, his curiosity and zest for life became increasingly apparent. He loved nature and exploring the world around him. He especially loved fishing with his grandfather. These trips instilled in him a deep appreciation for nature and peaceful contemplation. At home, his adventurous spirit found an outlet in playing with his beloved toy tractor, which transported him to imaginary worlds in the backyard. The bond between Dominic and his older brother Tyler was unbreakable. The two were inseparable, constantly coming up with new games and adventures. They loved roughhousing and chasing each other around the yard, their laughter sounding like music. In quieter moments, they could be found together, immersed in their own little world. Dominic's gentle heart extended to all creatures, especially dogs. Whenever he met any four-legged friend, his face lit up with pure joy. He loved showering them with affection and receiving wet kisses in return. It was clear that Dominic had a gift for connecting with animals, and they were instinctively drawn to his kind and caring presence. Despite the love surrounding him, Dominic's early years were marked by upheaval and change. From the beginning, the boy's family life was chaotic and unstable, characterized by frequent moves and stays with various relatives and friends over the years. A major upheaval occurred in 2009, when Corrine's relationship with Dominic's dad, Eric, ended. The court granted her full custody of Dominic. This decision remains highly controversial and difficult to understand to this day, given that—
So check this crazy ass loophole I just went through. I nutted in the condom. Put water in the condom. Okay? Then, you want to take it a step further, put the condom over a light. At that point, you're going to see a homemade lava lamp. Not gabbing though.
This video was taken shortly after this woman found a truck full of children's bodies. I mean, this is horrible. The horrifying incident took place at a gas station in Michoacan, Mexico, where the woman worked inspecting semi-trucks. But on this day, this specific truck pulled in and something seemed very off about the driver. He was very nervous, tense, and sweating profusely. The woman noticed that the truck's back door was slightly open, so she decided to take a look. She slowly opened the door and immediately burst into tears. Inside were hundreds of children's bodies piled on top of each other like food. She also saw a lot of blood on the floor, and that's when she noticed black plastic bags, and when she took a closer look, she noticed they were stuffed with severed limbs. They were filled with small arms, legs, and even heads. This video was taken shortly after, and she is seen gasping for air and can barely even stand up. And what's even more horrifying, just days after this video surfaced, this woman was found chopped up in a suitcase left in a parking lot. And next to her remains was a message saying, "This is what happens when you saw what you shouldn't have, don't be a snitch." Rest in peace to this poor woman and all of those children, and as always, I'll keep you guys updated. Here's video proof that the hotel allowed Liam to pass away and chose not to help him.
Encounters with Liam multiple times, had come down to the lobby, was causing a disturbance, kept being escorted back up to his room. There was an incident where he was very frustrated and was smashing his laptop in the lobby. And then the final time he came back down, he actually passed out in the lobby of the hotel, looked like convulsing a little bit, and had to be physically taken back up to his room. And that was about 5 minutes before the eventual incident.
The hotel tried to hide the fact that Liam was convulsing in the hotel lobby before they threw him back into...
My name is Kristen Thorne. I'm a 5-time Emmy Award-winning investigative true crime journalist, and these are the top 5 true crime stories you're going to want to keep an eye on. I'll be keeping an eye on in 2026. First, Rex Heuermann, the man believed to be the Long Island serial killer. He's been charged with the deaths of 7 women, with killing them and burying their bodies across Long Island decades ago. He is set to go to trial in 2026. Number 2, the Alexander brothers, the luxury real estate tycoons who are now accused by the federal government of sex trafficking. Their lawyers have said nothing that these boys did amounted to sex trafficking. They partied a lot, they certainly were with a lot of women, but they say these women knew what they were getting into. If this case sounds familiar, maybe like Sean Diddy Combs, it is. It's almost the same exact case that the feds are trying to pursue. And in fact, the legal team now representing the Alexander brothers also represented Sean Diddy Combs. Number 3, the case against Matthew Nilo. He's a former New York City lawyer who's been accused of raping 4 women in Boston in the early 2000s. He has maintained his innocence. This case has been really quiet for the last year or 2, and I have a feeling in 26, as both sides continue to argue over some DNA evidence, that we may see some movement on this case. Number 4, the case against Nick Reiner, the man accused of killing Rob and Michelle Reiner, his parents. This is going to be a case that we're going to learn a lot more about in 26, including motive, what led up to this horrific incident in 2025. Not only Hollywood is going to be watching because they knew the Reiners so well, but the entire country, as families really struggle to understand how this happened and why it happened. Number 5, the Raspberry Killer. Zulma Guzman Castro. She lives in Colombia, and she's accused of killing 2 teenage girls by poisoning chocolate-covered raspberries that she gave to them. One of the girls was the daughter of a man that Guzman Castro was allegedly having an affair with. Guzman Castro has been on the run since April and just recently was discovered struggling to swim in a river in the UK and was pulled from the freezing water. We're now learning that this man's wife died from the same metal being in her system in 2021. And we've learned that that husband and some of his sons also tested positive. Guzman Castro has said publicly that she has nothing to do with any of this. This is going to be a really interesting case to watch. And those, my friends, are the 5 true crime stories you should be watching in 2026. I will bring you all the updates here on my social media.
Oh yeah, one more thing. If y'all see me on Love Island, mind your fucking business, bitch. I'm trying to find love, bitch. Y'all had y'all motherfucking chance.
I just want to let you know that we have found a body.
I'm ready to pass out. Can you get me some help? Can you get me some help? Can you get me some help? Okay. Give me some help. Oh my God. Give me some help. We're out. We're out. We're out. Help me, please.
This mother has just received shocking news about her missing daughter's dead body being found. But at the scene, what the officers discover is far more horrifying than anyone expected.
Uh-oh. See that? That's not good.
It looks like a human head to me.
Yeah, it looks like a chest cavity in the dark.
Drag mark right there. We got drag marks right there. And we got a female body. Basically, she face down, pants down.
I can see enough.
On March 8th, 2020, an officer responds to a missing persons report, which sets the stage for a chilling mystery.
Is it son or daughter?
Daughter.
Daughter?
Yeah.
Okay. What is daughter's name?
Brittany, you want to get a picture? Her friend that had her, I talked to him. He dropped her off at the high school down here at 4 o'clock with some guy. And I go, what guy? And he goes, I don't know. She just said my new friend. Tall, white, cowboy-looking guy with a green truck. And now nobody can find her. None of her friends. Her phone's not on.
Okay.
I don't know where to find her.
Has she ever did this before?
No.
Never done this before?
No. And even when she does go out and do dumb things, we get a call with some crazy kind of an excuse. You know what I mean? Trying to get her out of trouble. Nothing. Not a friend. None of her friends, her best friends, nobody can find her.
When 16-year-old Gabrielle Brittany Ulaki fails to return home after her father Jim Ulaki's band practice, he urges her mother Alicia to file a report, setting in motion an investigation that will uncover far more than a simple disappearance. Brittany's phone has gone dark, and the only clue they have is a fleeting description.
And all we know is that it was a green truck. We know nothing else about the individual.
No, the boy said it was an ugly green F-150 from the early 2000s.
The officer learns that Brittany was last seen with her friend Bryce Dickey, who dropped her off at school. But something about the incident immediately catches the officer's attention.
Is there any other friends that were with Bryce, or it was just Bryce?
But it was just Bryce.
And she was with him, and then he dropped her off, and he had no idea who this guy was?
No, and he even said it seemed sketchy. And I'm like, well, why'd you leave her? Why'd you leave her?
Did Bryce happen to mention it if it was a Nevada license plate?
Did he see that much?
No, he didn't see anything about the truck. He said he was a pretty good distance away from it.
So he dropped her off, and then she walked quite a ways? She didn't want him to just pull up to the vehicle?
He said he dropped her off right in front of the school, and then she walked into the parking lot.
Brittany asked to be dropped just a short distance away, an oddly precise choice, too deliberate to be random. Just as the officer wraps up, her mom has one more name to drop.
Her best friend said that she's been talking to a guy named JT. She says she doesn't know anymore. She just keeps calling him JT. She goes, has anybody talked to a guy named JT? I know they've been talking a lot lately.
What's Bryce's last name?
Dickey.
Dickey.
In the days before she vanished, Brittany's contact with a stranger worried her family. Social media hints at the link, but the full story remains hidden. Identifying JT as their prime suspect, the investigators' most urgent task becomes locating him. Believing Bryce is the only person who can reveal JT's whereabouts, they interview him at the high school parking lot.
Hey, Bryce.
Let's go.
Good. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no problem.
So, kind of run me through it so I can understand what's going on.
Alright, so Sunday, around 11, I started texting, got a few texts from Brittany, just asking if I wanted to hang out. I said sure, got ready and stuff. Told me she could meet me at Angel Park, because she said her dad was doing band practice. And then went to town, called her when I got into town on 5th, and then picked her up at Angel Park, drove around, went up towards Mountain View, kept driving around, and then we were over in the horse palace section, and my dad called me asking if I could come back home. So I told her I needed to go. Asked her if she wanted me to just drop her back off at Angel Park, and she said that she wanted me to drop her off at high school to meet her new friends.
As he continues his story, Bryce recounts the final moments in which he saw Brittany.
She got out, I pulled out, and then started heading that way, and the F-150 was over there, but I didn't know that was where she was going at that time. And then got about right towards where it opens up, and then looked back, and they were both standing outside the truck. And then I got to the turnout right over there by the middle school, and then that F-150 was in motion.
Okay. So you said what was the F-150?
Yeah, it was ones that are really ugly looking, have the side step in them.
Like that winter green, dark forest green?
Like a dark forest green.
But when stories line up too perfectly, investigators know there's usually more beneath the surface.
So you picked her up at 1:30. Where did you guys go? I mean, you said you were with her for how long?
Dropped her off at 4:30, so that's three and a half hours.
I'm sure that you didn't drive around for 3.5 hours. That's a waste of gas.
No, I drove around for 3.5 hours.
Okay. That's all you did for 3.5 hours? That seems really odd. That you just drive aimlessly around.
That's what I do almost every day. I was in my Chevy.
What's your Chevy?
It's a 93 Chevy 1500. It's a Silverado.
Single cab or double?
Single. Single with a long bed.
So you just drove around? You didn't stop anywhere?
No. Didn't stop at all. Literally just kept doing circles. Drove around towards the sports complex. Looked back around to the housing section.
I just think it's kind of odd. I think you know more than what you're telling.
The investigators sense that between the pickup and drop-off lies a part of the story Bryce refuses to reveal. To back up his story, Bryce shows officers his phone and the last messages he exchanged with Brittany.
I had a streak with Brittany for 70 days. I had a habit I still seem to.
Where are you? Are you okay? Answer the phone. What time was that, please?
6:14.
Little sis is what you're referring to her as?
Yeah, she's called me big brother since my 8th grade year.
The string of urgent texts suggests something is seriously amiss, prompting investigators to widen their search to trace where Brittany might have gone. But little did they know this search would lead them to a suspect no one could have seen coming. Authorities focus on the green Ford after Brittany's phone is traced to Boyd Kennedy Road, but deputies find nothing. As hours slip away, those closest to Brittany take the search into their own hands.
We had messaged Bryce if he could think of anywhere where maybe no one has looked yet. And he said, Spring Creek Mountains. And then he texted me and he told me, I love you. I'm so sorry this happened, but I hope you guys don't blame me. And I said, Bryce, we definitely do not blame you one bit. We love you too, bud. Keep your head up.
Meanwhile, Alicia distributes 540 flyers in 2 days, and a non-stop tip line floods investigators with leads. Just as hope flickers, a chilling text cuts through the chaos.
I got a text message, but it was, we have your daughter. If you don't send me $25,000, I'm going to feed her to my dogs. And they kept telling me that she's very sick. The drugs that they used to take her didn't react well with her. She's going to die.
Alicia alerts detectives and brings her phone to the sheriff's office for tracing. But what comes next takes the search out of the office and into the field. The detectives receive a call that some locals have spotted something unusual in the remote Burner Basin. The hunt now moves into the scrubland, where the horrific truth begins to surface.